Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this very special episode of the Visionary Circle podcast. It's me and my lovely co-host, Mr. Sergio. And we're always trying to bring people that are talking about things that we haven't explored before. And Sergio is doing an amazing job at finding guests that are experts in fields that I have never experienced firsthand. And today's episode is going to be with somebody who is along the lines of that, something that relates to healing. We have with us today Will, an acupuncturist. Welcome, Will.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for being here. I do want Sergio to lead us into this one because you have some firsthand experience with this type of therapy. When did you decide to pursue this, and how did you end up meeting Will?
Well, this is a part of the series that I wanted to bring, like a 3-part series of people that helped me heal from this very traumatic moment in my life. And Will was literally the first person that I went to and helped me since the beginning all the way up to today, where like I can reach out to him and he just feels like a therapist. There's so many titles that I can give him, but he's an acupuncturist, but he also just does so much in that field when you're in his room. And I met him through a group that is called BNI. It's basically people, business owners that get together and help each other grow. And when I was going through this sickness that I had, Will was the first person I reached out to and immediately started helping me out. So that's when I first started kind of really like going to him and just learning a lot. And I wanted to ask you, Will, you've met me. I think you've met me before all that happened. Mm-hmm. You've met me through it, and then now meeting me with like a new life. Can you kind of like tell the people how much of a difference like Sergio before and then Sergio between that tragic thing that happened? Who was he? Because I feel like I do my best to try to tell people like, no, dude, this is something I wouldn't wish on my enemies. Like it was bad. And so maybe through somebody else's experience, like, can you kind of...
Well, yeah, of course. So yeah, it's been great working with you, and I'm going to dance around HIPAA here, of course, want to protect your privacy as well. But no, anytime, most times when people come to me, it's for help. And so that's the nature of what we do. We see people through their dark times, help them heal, help them feel better. And so, I think your question was I able to see the difference? I mean, to your credit, you're a wonderful patient. You put in the work, you do all the things you need to do on your end. And, us on the healer side of things, we certainly appreciate that, because it's a two-way street. You might be seeing your practitioner an hour or two a week, but all the things you're doing on your end, give yourself some credit too.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about me about it.
Okay.
I just, my whole goal has always been, if there's somebody out there that's going through something similar, I want them to know that I went through it, and there's hope. And I'm trying to bring those people in here.
Yes.
So that I can shine a light to your profession and what you've done, in hopes that somebody that is looking for answers can find it through this podcast and then just reach out to you directly.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was, I have a pretty, that message speaks to my story and how I got into this line of work. People ask me all the time, how does a white guy get into acupuncture? Not to be any sort of way, but it's a question I've been asked by multiple patients. And so, it was a necessity for me. And I hope this message reaches others so that other people feel comfortable trying acupuncture and find the same relief that Sergio's found, that I found myself. But yeah, in 2012, I was hit by a car as a pedestrian, hit from behind. The Prius was doing about 35 miles an hour. I sustained some low back injuries, spent some time in the hospital. And in the aftermath of that, I really spent about a couple of years laid up in bed for about a week at a time every month. So my quality of life was not great, dealing with a lot of chronic pain. And of course, with the pain comes depression and some PTSD from getting hit from behind out of nowhere. And so, it was quite a struggle for a couple of years trying to pull myself out of that hole. Funny enough, my mom recommended, hey, you've tried a bunch of different things. Why don't we try some acupuncture? And so she made an appointment for me. Funny enough, I was very apprehensive about that. And that I hope that also reaches the listeners' ears. I, an acupuncturist, had apprehension about doing acupuncture myself, and then I'm here now, so it's kind of funny. But that's to say, I went to my appointment, and within the first 10 minutes of treatment, I felt my mind relax. I felt my pain start to drift away, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt like I was at peace. And so, I had a pretty instant connection with how the medicine worked, and the dots started connecting in my brain. I was like, if I figure out how to do this for myself, I'll never need to rely on a pain medicine to manage my pain, an antidepressant pill to manage my depression. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with using those therapeutic tools if that's where you're at in your journey. For me personally, I wanted to break away from these things so I could get some personal clarity. And so that was, for me on my journey, what I needed, what was best for me. And so I fell in love with this medicine. Within 3 months of that first acupuncture visit, I was already enrolled in school. And the ball was rolling. And then, within 5 years, I had opened up a practice in Huntington. And so the rest is history.
It's awesome to see how through tragic, you're doing something that you love doing now, and you've been able to help a lot of people. Is that something that drives you to continue doing this kind of line of work? Is seeing people's oh wow, I'm healing?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's probably the best part of the job is getting to be a part of people's healing teams, and it takes a team. A lot of times I'm not the guy. It's, we've got their MD working with them. We maybe need a therapist working with them. And so depending on what we're dealing with, it takes a team. It takes a village, as the expression goes. And so that's to say, I love being a part of that and seeing the transformations happen. I love patients coming in. I've been dealing with this for so many months or so many years, and I'm finally getting relief. And so hearing that it's worth its weight in gold. It's a really a blessing to be able to help people in that way. And I sleep really well because of it too, which is nice,
Absolutely. Brother, I do want to ask you, so acupuncture, where does it fall into the category of treatment? Is it something you go to school for? Is it something that you learn from another expert? How do you approach that?
That's a great question. So here in the state of California and in the U.S. as a whole, it is a regulated therapy, and so it's 4 years of school to be able to practice acupuncture. It's a 4-year master program. Some people go on to do their doctorate, which is an extra year of school. You write a thesis. Doesn't really change how you practice the medicine, but some people like to have the fancy title, of course, the prestige that goes with it. But yeah, it's a 4 years master degree post-grad.
Amazing. Does acupuncture have a rep of being a pseudoscience?
Oh, of course, yeah. No, it hits my ears as funny knowing what I know about how the body works. I mean, yes, acupuncture traditionally in Eastern medicine. However, I am fascinated with Western biomedical science, and I like to be able to speak the language of my patients. And so when people come to me and they say, I don't really believe in acupuncture, so you don't believe that when you put a foreign object inside of the tissue of your body doesn't produce chemicals in response to that foreign object? And so, there's that's to say, there's scientific literature, plenty of research to support the efficacy of acupuncture. So I'm hoping that soon we'll move beyond statements like that. Oh, I believe in this, or things like that. It still hits my ear funny. But I understand for a long time, for so many people, even myself back in 2012, I would have said, oh, that's a pseudo medicine. I'm not comfortable with this. I mean, and it's very natural for us to fear what we don't know,
Absolutely. I love that you clarified that. I didn't know you go to school for acupuncture. And I do want to know, you said something about, placing a foreign object and creating reproducible reactions from the body. Mm-hmm. What is the gist of what happens when you do poke? What kind of needle do we use and what happens in the body?
So all the needles are single-use medical grade steel. They're used on one patient and then disposed of. It seems silly to mention, but patients ask about all that all the time. Do you reuse the needles? We do not. We definitely do not.
Good to know.
Yeah, no, it's I pride myself on running a very sterile, clean environment. Patient safety is paramount. So that's a big thing for me. But the needles, they don't have holes in them. So a lot of us, our association with needles is shots. We're getting shots, we're getting vaccines as kids. And so that's to say a lot of us, our first experience with the needle is pain. And so not a great first association. However, the acupuncture needles are very thin. They're almost hair-like. And a lot of times patients tell me, oh, it doesn't hurt. I don't feel anything at all. It's possible to go through a whole treatment and not feel a single needle.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so when we put those needles in, depending on the points that we use, you can elicit different effects from the body. The way that I've found, there's so much going on a chemical level, on a biological level within the body when acupuncture needles are placed. So I'll do my best to quickly share about that. The long short of it, imagine, I think it's the easiest if we think of ourselves as bioelectric machines, right? Or hydroelectric machines. Our bodies are primarily composed of water, and electricity is what makes our muscles move. Fascia and our nerves sort of facilitate that process. There's a lot of interesting research about fascia and how it's basically a giant electrical system. And fascia is the tissue that connects our muscles to the rest of our body, runs through the whole body. But that's to say that's a piece of the electrical component. And when I'm talking about electrical components, the reason being is because we're using conductive metal needles. And so when we're thinking of ourselves as a machine, this is the central processing unit, the brain, like the computer, this is our processor. And so we need to push different buttons within the nervous system. So we're basically placing different acupuncture points and acupuncture needles on acupuncture points that have been studied to elicit certain effects. And you place the needles in different places, you get different effects. But essentially we're just pushing buttons on this machine to make it do different things.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
Okay.
I did want to go just one step deeper to that. When you do go into, what is the most type of tissue you end up in? Are we in skeletal muscle? Are we in fascia? What's the most common tissue you do end up poking in?
So it depends on what we're treating. For things like autoimmune, it's very shallow needle insertion. So we're just tapping the needle into the skin. You get a stronger histamine response from needling the skin itself. And so it's different techniques for different things. If we're treating pain, oftentimes we're going into the muscle layer. In order to get the muscle to relax, we place that needle within the muscle itself. And in response to that foreign object that I mentioned earlier, the muscle tissue wants to relax to release that. So your body naturally wants to expel these objects. And so that's sort of how it deals with tension. So we put the needle in, the muscle relaxes it. In order to relax, it needs to recruit a bunch of blood flow. So it improves circulation to the area. That muscle gets engorged with blood. That muscle relaxes to expel the needle.
Wow. And that, you said histamine release?
If we're doing the autoimmune type treatment, when we're treating that sort of condition, shallow insertion, and yes, it does affect histamine levels in the patient. So oftentimes if you're dealing with somebody who has high histamine levels, allergic responses, rashes, sneezing, things like that, you can affect it that way by doing shallow needle insertions.
Wow. That is so fascinating.
For the people that are watching, I can hear the comments already. What's fascia? Because he said it so confidently, and I know he knows.
I'm sorry. I'm throwing a lot out there. I apologize.
No, it's all good.
So the fascia is basically a layer of connective tissue that runs the length of our body. It works with our muscles, works with our nerves, and it's basically a piezoelectric crystalline type substance. I know this sounds crazy, but the research that just came out recently is mind-blowing in terms of how this part of our body works. Basically, when we move, it charges itself, and so it increases its electrical potential. And that's what helps make our muscles move. That's what helps make our nerves function. And so we've got this, electric living part of us that we're really just finding more out about. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I do want to just add one more thing regarding fascia. So you have the parts of our body that everyone knows. It's like the muscle, the skin, the bones, the really visible. Everybody gets it from first grade stuff. But there's everything in between that attaches all together that we really don't know what it is.
And that's still learning.
No, I'm sorry. The layman, the normal person doesn't know what it is.
Right.
But it's actually fascia.
Yeah.
Fascia is like the glue. Is that the right way?
Yeah, the connective tissue.
When he says connective tissue, that's it's connecting everything. It's in the middle. And that's so cool. What is the most common way, having the fact that there's a rep of acupuncture being a pseudoscience, so there is there's a mystery involved for the layman, not for someone who knows. How does somebody go from that person to ending up in an acupuncture office?
The first step is you have to get hit by a car as a patient.
That's how you become an acupuncture specialist.
So, when I'm talking with people who aren't in the office, the example that I point to most often is acupuncture is a modality that's covered by insurance. And so if the medical establishment is behind it, there's efficacy. That means if they're paying for the service, they've done studies to prove that this is something that will save them money. If it doesn't work, they're not going to pay for it.
I can pay for it.
And so that's pretty good evidence. To me, that supports the medicine. You're starting to see it implemented in hospitals for pain management. It's becoming more and more mainstream. And so, I hope as people continue to experience it, and as it becomes more mainstream, people's mind, evolve. I think
become more accepting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, I remember being apprehensive myself when I first heard about acupuncture. This is before even meeting you. So it's so funny. Like, I think it was like a day or two ago, I was backing up your work because someone had mentioned about them going to an acupuncturist. It didn't work out. So they're just like, whatever. And I told them, like, honestly, I think in every profession, if you have a bad experience with whomever you're working with, there's still somebody out there that is doing it at a level where it will help you. What sucks is that we end up with someone that gave us like a bad taste. And that's what happened with me. When I first went to an acupuncturist, I don't know what they were doing. Honestly, it was a very young girl that was putting needles in me and she wasn't saying much. She was just like, okay, this is where we're putting your stuff. I myself am not a fan of going to professionals in your field and they just do the basic general things. It's like me having my client come and I do the same exact pose, photo, background with everybody. Instead of trying to be creative for this specific person, I was like, I'm just going to do this, whatever. They're going to be happy. Like, and so same thing with here. Like if I go to a chiropractor and he's just doing the general stuff, I'm not a big fan of because I am different from this client. And so when I went with you, it was very different. You were educating me, which is big for me. Because you were telling me like, okay, this is what's wrong. This is where we're going to poke you because of these areas. This should ignite something in your body and so. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so I told that to my buddy. I was like, and unfortunately he moved to a different state, but I told him, like, you need to meet someone like my guy that loves what he does. But not only is he going to put needles in you, but his specific needles in areas that you specifically are in need of. Yeah. So what is it like when someone comes to your office? Like, what's the first kind of like initial thing? Is it like some sort of like a consultation maybe? Yeah, go ahead. Like,
like hearing what you have to say, like in any profession, you run into the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And so, people have told me before, I had a bad acupuncture experience, and I asked them, have you ever had a bad haircut? And, it's obviously more dire consequences with a bad acupuncture treatment. It's a medical procedure, so it's a little bit more serious. But that's to say, in every profession, you run into all sorts of things. So I have advised family members, friends out of state on what to look for when they're choosing a medical provider or even an acupuncturist. So communication, like you mentioned, is huge for me. You want to work with somebody who you can ask questions. We need to be able to have a rapport, need to be able to communicate. As I'm doing something that affects your body, I'm sure you want to know what's going on. And that goes a long way to sort of relieve that mystery, and help people feel more comfortable with the medicine. But first visit, it's an intake. I want to know more about you as the patient. I want to know what you've been doing, how you're eating, how you're exercising, how you're sleeping, how your digestion's functioning.
Amazing.
Because it gives me the whole picture. And I want to look at the roadmap of who you are as a patient, who you are as a human being, and how you're living, because it gives me a lot of information on how I can best help you. And then after, probably a 30 to 45 minute intake and medical history, I take vitals. I look at some different signs like your tongue and your pulse. Your tongue tells me a ton, a lot of information on the tongue that it's sort of, again, it's like a roadmap to the body. And then we do a treatment, typically, 5 minutes to put needles in. I let you rest for about 25 minutes for that to really integrate. And the beauty of the medicine is, we're pushing those buttons by putting the needles in that I was talking about earlier to get the body to alleviate pain or improve digestion or get rid of migraines. But the nice side effect with this medicine is when we put the needles in, a lot of endorphins are released. And so endorphins are basically your body manufacturing its own chemicals to help you relax. And so a lot of people getting off the table, oh my gosh, I feel like I had a martini, or I feel like I'm coming out of a massage right now. Yeah. And so that sedation, that relaxation, not only feels good, but it enhances the healing benefits. So there's a lot of talk about, fight or flight or rest and digest. And a lot of us in the modern world, we're running around, we're doing our jobs. We got to take care of A, B, C, X, Y, Z, all the different things. And there's a lot of stress with that. So we live in fight or flight, but the body can't heal, digest food. You can't even breathe properly in fight or flight. And so that's to say, doing things, whether it's exercise, meditation, or acupuncture, something to encourage the body to relax and get back into that rest and digest state, that's where healing happens. And so I think that's a uniquely beautiful thing with acupuncture, is that you're treating pain, you're recruiting the body's stem cells to repair local tissue, but you're also relaxing the mind so that that healing can happen on a deeper level where the patient's actually, take a deep breath and relax.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure it comes to play as well because it helps, excuse me, to disconnect from the world. When you're on that table, you can't be on your phone. You can't be literally all you're thinking about in your head is just relaxing and let the needles do their job. And next thing you know, you're falling asleep on your table.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful moment to disconnect. I hear from patients all the time, and I've experienced it myself. Sometimes you go thousands of miles away from the treatment table. I've had patients tell me, I feel like I went to space, or I heard trumpets playing while I was on the table. All sorts of different. Cool. It's a meditative experience, and you add in the chemicals that your body produces, and it ends up being, what's the word I'm looking for? A hypnotic experience, or almost like a transcendent experience. Pseudo psychedelic without the psychedelics. And so in that way, it's very transformative, very healing, and it doesn't happen every time. I don't want to sound insincere here. But when patients are able to fully relax and we've got the right points in, you see some really cool things happen with the nervous system and the mind just fully able to relax. And that's one of my favorite parts of doing what I do.
Is any part of the efficacy of acupuncture needles, is any part of it a distraction from pain? Like, for example,
that's a great question. So, candidly, when we put so say you let me think of the best injury here for this example. Say you have a slight muscle tear in your quad, right? A low-grade muscle tear, doesn't require surgery, but you're going to have to rest it for a few weeks. The acupuncture isn't going to magically make the tear go away overnight. Your body takes time to heal. But I point to a study out of Shanghai Hospital. Basically, they looked at femoral fractures. So the biggest bone in your body. If this gets fractured, on average, it takes about 8 weeks to heal. In this study, they looked at what if we put electroacupuncture above and below it. And so when they did that, they found that, so it normally takes 8 weeks for that bone to fuse. When they did the electroacu above and below the fracture site, it took about 4 weeks to fuse. And so that's to say, with the right kind of acupuncture, you can shorten the injury window by about 50%, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
And so, if you're healing trauma, if you're healing bones, you see an increased rate of healing. I think your original question, I'm sorry, I'm
I love this. No, I love that.
So that's to say, there is a Band-Aid effect in that the enkephalins, it's a natural painkiller that's released by the brain. Think endogenous morphine, or think painkillers that are released by your body. That's released during treatment. And so that will mask pain for a few hours after treatment. And so in that way, you do get a Band-Aid effect during treatment, but it also acts as a neurological pain reset for patients. So if you take a patient who's been in chronic pain for 7 days straight, basically the signal in their brain gets stuck in an on position. Sometimes this happens. And so even though the pain has changed, they're still perceiving pain. And so getting a reset on that pain level where we take their pain down, okay, now I'm at from a 7, now I'm at a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10.
Wow.
That change resets their pain scale. So when they go back to living their life, most often, now we're at more like a 2 or a 3 out of 10. So you see a pretty substantial change in the day-to-day pain.
Wow. Yeah. There are certain treatments, for example, certain types of viral infections would affect a nerve, and that whatever part of the body that nerve supplies gets inflamed. Mm-hmm. And some doctors would prescribe some sort of like a really hot red pepper cream. And what that cream does is like, it's so hot that it masks the pain of the actual neuralgia, like the nerve pain that's you're getting. So like, I was just wondering if there's any overlap, but I love that you mentioned that it's not just that. Like, yes, it might have an effect on resetting how you perceive the pain, but it's also supplying chemicals that promote healing and make it faster.
Absolutely. I mean, you put the needles in, your body has stem cells floating around naturally. So these needles are also like a conductor of that orchestra. Where we put the needles, it's going to direct your body to repair that tissue. So it's, hey, come work here, fix this knee, fix this leg, whatever's injured. So.
I love that. How cool is it that we are now in the United States of America and walking into 2026 and we're using a medicine for therapy and it's very effective and it's something that's been founded, was it thousands of years ago?
Yeah.
How cool is that? Like,
it's pretty remarkable. It's pretty remarkable. And don't get me wrong, you know, like if I get in a car accident and I have a major head wound, I'm not going to go see my acupuncturist. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
I'm not one of those practitioners who's like Eastern medicine or acupuncture is the end all be all. I'm very integrative. I love working with other practitioners. I mean, you know, Western medicine, there's amazing things that we can do, but that's to say there are also gaps. And I think for there's a reason it's been around so many thousands of years, and it's because it works. It's because people connect with it. It keeps working generation after generation. You know, things fall by the wayside when they don't work anymore, and it continues to work, and so it continues to be around. And I mean, I think in that way, it kind of speaks for itself, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why do you feel like there's that initial, like, I don't want to go to acupuncturist? That's not really, like, why do you feel like if it's been so long, is it just education maybe?
I mean, you know, it's funny. In the early 2000s, there was a big pushback on MSG. We were told in this country it was poisonous. We were told it was horrible for our health. And then flashback to 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, we found out that was just really a propaganda effort. And MSG actually has healing benefits for your brain. It'll improve your memory. So if you're older, you're dealing with cognitive issues, you've had a stroke, you're dealing with cognitive issues, MSG can actually help your brain heal.
I didn't know that, dude. I'm still on the previous news where MSG's bad. MSG's what's in sushi, right? Like when you go to get like...
So it's often in ramen. It's in a ton of Asian cooking.
Okay.
And so essentially, my point in referencing that is it was a story that we were told as Americans because it made something that was foreign look scary. And in so many ways, acupuncture has a lot of those same characteristics. It's something that's foreign and it's something that's scary. It involves needles. And like I was saying earlier, most of our first associations with needles is pain because of shots. And so I think that's a big piece of the apprehension. You know, it's something that's foreign. It's not here. It's not like, oh, this isn't an American thing. I'm trying to make it more of an American thing. But that's to say it hasn't been historically. And so, you know, showing people that it doesn't hurt and showing people that it can be done in a way that's more Americanized and modern and safe, you know, that tends to help manage those fears and that apprehension.
So your needles are MSG free, is what you're saying.
We can pay extra for a little extra.
Some ramen on the side.
As you lay on the table, here you go, some MSG.
I'm so happy to learn that. I've always been afraid every time I do go out for all you can eat sushi or something. I'm like, all right, like let's not eat too much MSG. But I didn't. Nobody told me about that second part. Everyone told me MSG's bad and avoid it. And now it's like, that's so cool. We're going for sushi after this, bro.
Yeah, MSG all day.
That's so cool. I also think that fear, like I want to speak as somebody who doesn't know about acupuncture. I think a lot of that fear is, like he said, the idea of being poked, like, and it's not once. Like we are afraid to go to the doctor as kids to get poked once.
Yeah.
And I feel like the concept of acupuncture, you're imagining like 46 needles like down your neck or something.
I'll tell you, media doesn't do acupuncture a lot of favors. I have people reference the Final Destination movie all the time. And there's a classic scene where the person's laying face down on the table with about 100 needles in their back, which is never something you do for treatment.
Never do that.
I mean, if I had to put 100 needles in, I'd never see more than one patient in a day. I'd be sitting there all day just, I got to get all 100. And so that's to say, it's something that's done for film, and these needles are so thin and flimsy that they bend out of the way so easily. I've had patients stand up with their needles, and I don't recommend that, but that's to say it's a much gentler medicine than people even realize. Like I mentioned earlier, shots it's a hypodermic needle, and what that means is there's a hole in the needle, a channel in the needle to deliver that medicine. But because of that, when you insert that needle in the tissue, it tears flesh because there's a hole in there, and it's a larger diameter needle versus these acupuncture needles are more like spears. Not the most calming, relaxing word. But that's to say they just sort of, I use a guide tube. The guide tube distracts your nerves. It's basically like a little pipe that you put the needle in. And when the pipe is pressing against the skin, when I tap the needle in, you don't really feel the needle at all. And so that's to say that the nerves are distracted. I mean, I wouldn't have a lot of return customers if I was creating a painful experience for my patients. And so,
True.
That's
Will, what is somebody who had been pursuing, aside from Sergio,
Just me.
somebody who had been pursuing, Western medicine for a problem, and they found their solution in acupuncture? Is without mentioning their name, is there a certain person, condition, something that somebody experienced and like they've been around and found no results, and once they walked in, they're like, wait a second, like this is actually working?
So it's so common that our teachers in acupuncture school would tell us people will come to you and you will be their 6th, 7th, sometimes 10th physician that they're coming to see, because they've been through the gamut. They're not getting results. They're not healing. They can't change the pain. They can't change the digestion. And so you will be people's last ditch effort. And so in that way, it's a little bit of pressure, but I like the pressure. I like being able to help. But that's to say, I can think of a ton of patients. I mean, I'm a great example myself as somebody who was in need of, something else, something different, because I had been doing PT. I had been taking the medicines that were prescribed to me. I had been following my Western medicine program, and I wasn't healing. I wasn't getting better. Not to say that people can't with that route, but me personally, I needed something different. And so this medicine spoke to me. And so it spoke to me in such a way where I redesigned my whole life, and now I'm sharing that with other people, trying to help them in a similar way.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful that you had that experience, a painful experience, and you found that comfort, you found that healing, and you got into this industry wanting to give that feeling to other people. I feel like that as a motive is a very powerful motive, and you probably breezed through those 4 years. I'm sure there's ups and downs, but because you had a goal in mind, it's very different than somebody pursuing, like if you go into Western medicine, you pursue medicine, you don't know what specialty you're going to be in. You don't know if you're going to be a medical doctor. So a lot of it is just landing on what works, but pursuing something that that is something that makes you feel so good, and you want to reveal that information to more people. I feel like it's a very strong motive, and the passion speaks for itself. Like you're just so passionate about what you do.
Well, I appreciate that. I certainly am. I mean, getting into acupuncture felt like I discovered a treasure trove because of the apprehension to do the medicine, so many people just don't know about or don't want to explore. And so, in so many ways, I feel like it's like my life's work to share that with as many people as possible. Because like I was saying earlier, so many of us are living in fight or flight. It's stressed out all the time. We have to pay our bills. We have to do our jobs. We have to, check all the boxes. And there's a lot that comes with that. And so my point in mentioning that is if people were able to get an acupuncture treatment once a week or even once a month, you'd see less honking in traffic. You'd see less yelling, less bumping into each other in the stores. People. I would make the argument, and I'd love to see the experiment carried out, but I'd make the argument that people would be much calmer and happier, with that intervention.
So wives, if you're tired of your husband giving you headaches every day, go see an acupuncturist. Trust me, you'll be happy. You'll be a happier home.
You're joking. I do have those patients.
Oh, you do? Yeah,
and they're great, and it helps a ton.
It helps them a lot. So this is called the Visionary Circle Podcast, and we like to project things into the future. I just came up with a cool idea, and I'll run it by you. So since we have an amazing treatment modality that has made it through the ancient times and is still valid in our day and age, and for many reasons, it's ignored or overlooked or not recognized by the majority of mainstream patients. How do we make acupuncture more exciting? So we dip the tips of these needles in THC, and we have THC needles for acupuncture. Mm-hmm. I promise you, overnight, it will be the coolest thing. Everyone will be talking about it. People at Venice Beach are like, did you get your acupuncture? Sergio, did you get your acupuncture? Because you're off today. I don't like how you're behaving. Go get your acupuncture. So THC dip needles.
It's certainly something to think about. I'll tell you, you're joking, but in the traditional Chinese medicine canon, there are a ton of different herbs, herbal formulas that we use to help people heal as well. It's, in addition to acupuncture, a large part of the education is going into plant medicine. And you can do incredible things with plant medicine. I mean, there was a Nobel Peace Prize given because a Chinese doctor basically discovered that one of the traditional Chinese medicine herbs, if you take an extract from that, it treats malaria effectively. And so they've turned that into a malaria treatment in modern times. And so that's really cool. You can go into that old treasure trove I'm talking about, grab something out of there and go, oh, wait, this works for malaria. So that's to say, I'm all over the place, forgive me, but that's to say, cannabis is one of the medicines in that canon. And so for patients who are dealing with chronic pain, if I have a choice between giving them something like a CBD edible or, having them, and of course I can't tell them to not take their painkillers, but if they talk to their physician and, get it approved, that is an alternative to something that is otherwise a narcotic painkiller. And so the lesser of two evils, the gentler of the two medicines, but still something that'll help them not suffer as much. Because at the end of the day, just, people shouldn't be suffering.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
seriously, Leo, you're joking, but I'm not a THC connoisseur, but I would try that treatment if it were
I'm telling
possible.
you, I know what I'm talking about.
I would want to see like what happens, maybe I am in the sky, in the universe, you know what I mean? I'm like, whoa, I went all the way to space.
You guys are joking. I have had patients say to me before, they ask me after treatment, did you dip the needles in something? And no, that's not something we can do in California. So maybe in the future, but as of right now, no. But it's funny you mentioned that because I've had people ask me that before.
Yeah, it just comes off as like the thing about adding something like THC, or now shrooms are becoming a popular topic. The thing about adding these things to any treatment makes them exciting. It gives them like a sexy touch. Like when you talk about like THC gummies or whatever, everyone's so excited about them just because it's like sugar in the diet world. It's like anytime you add sugar, people love it. Oh, it tastes, I love these protein bars. They taste amazing. Yeah, because they have sugar. It's very easy. It's an easy thing to make. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. I mean, you touched on psychedelics, and I think that, that's a pretty hot topic in the healing world because there is so much research coming out, whether you're talking MDMA for PTSD or psilocybin for depression. These therapeutics are, on paper, the studies that are coming out look far better than any pill we have available.
Wow.
And so these are, for people suffering, for people in pain, they're it looks like very promising healing modalities. But something that comes with something like a psychedelic trip is like psilocybin use is the reintegration afterwards. So taking what you've seen on your journey and reintegrating that back into your life and making the connections between the visions that you saw in that pure bliss state or that higher mind state, taking that into your life. And that's really where acupuncture can come in because it does improve the mind-body connection. It's time to sit with yourself. It's time to meditate. And so I have had patients come to me after psychedelic experiences, working on things like PTSD, working on things like depression. And it's been pretty cool,
Wow.
working that in that way.
I love that. What's your take? And to be honest with you, when it comes to things that are psychoactive, right? Whether it be THC or shrooms, I am skeptical. And I know it's because I don't know enough. So my skepticism isn't resistance. It's actually just, I haven't done the literature. I'm going off what I've seen. And usually what I've seen is that when you take something to solve a problem, like if you, again, like we mentioned before the podcast, if you're drinking alcohol to be more sociable, then that connection, the fact that you're relying on an external substance to provide you with something that you should have in yourself is going to create a toxic relationship. So if a lot of people, I have friends that cannot smile or laugh without being drunk. And it's like, it seems like a simple thing. Well, I drink to have fun. Well, now you have to drink to have fun and you can't have fun in any other way. And I would say, for example, with something like shrooms, or any psychedelic substance, yes, it might take you on these journeys, but I feel like we also have a healthy dosage of mini journeys in life, epiphanies, things you experience that make you look at things differently, friends that like kind of teach you and give you more perspective. My less knowledgeable understanding of self-development would be to like kind of take that time. What's your take on that?
I think for people who are healthy and not dealing with chronic pain, not dealing with PTSD, that, probably is the best approach to try and find a way to do these things without substances, because you're like you're saying, I'm never going to advocate for somebody to use alcohol because it is an addictive substance. The more we learn about it, it's very cancerous, poisonous. So that's to say it's not something I'm going to be promoting in my office. Now, that being said, if you look at things like THC in counties where it's legally available, you see lower rates of opiate addiction and you see lower rates of suicide. And so that's to say it might not be the best medicine, but it's certainly the lesser of two evils. And in a world with tons of suffering, I would like people to have something to alleviate said suffering.
I love that.
And in a perfect world, of course, they don't have a reason to use cannabis. So we treat their pain with acupuncture. We work through EMDR with therapy so that we can treat that PTSD. So that's to say there are ways to do it without substances, but I keep going back to people with severe PTSD where they can't get out of bed in the morning. The depression is so bad that they don't want to do anything. They become antisocial. That's where you see the efficacy of things like psilocybin or MDMA. So it's, to answer your question, it's very specific use cases. It's not going to be, everybody should have shrooms all the time. I think something that's coming out of the research is with something like psychedelics, it's very hard to be addicted because it's hard work to go into that space, and it's not a social space. It's work. And so to, even think about how that medicine would be used, it's more a sacred, and, of course you grow up with friends who are, we're going to take some shrooms this week and have fun. That's great. Whatever. We're all kids once, but this is more like a therapeutic setting. We're doing this in a certain way for the benefit of our healing. And of course, I don't run this type of business. It's just interesting research that's coming out. And I like to be aware of what's going on as somebody who works in the PTSD world and helps people heal. This looks like an incredible medicine for depression, an incredible medicine for PTSD. And instead of making somebody wait 10 years to go through this process on their own naturally, you might be able to give them an experience, and within half a year or a year, they get their feet back under them. And so you can save them 10 years of their life that otherwise might have been pain and suffering. So, in that way, it expedites healing.
Love that. Sorry, Sergio, I'm going back to back with questions. I have one more.
Oh, go ahead.
So in any craft that humans do, anything technical that humans do, whether it be driving, drawing, anything we do, the more experience you have, the more nuanced you get and the better you get at it. An experienced driver can, sorry guys, an experienced driver can kind of, parallel park, get into a little nook in a corner somewhere that a new driver could not. And I imagine with something like acupuncture, where you are physically holding these needles, placing them places, there's also, there's nuance. There's a craft to it. What does a very, 10, 20 years of experience in acupuncture give you in terms of like skills and an art form that you wouldn't have when you first start out?
It's a great question. The long, short answer is typically the longer somebody's been practicing, the fewer needles they use. And so if you talk to your 70-year-old, 80-year-old masters, the people who have been doing this for 40, 50 years, they'll use maybe 3 to 5 needles for a treatment, and that's it. And they'll get the same results as a young gun using 30 needles, 20 needles. And so that tends to be a big difference. And then, the more you work with the body, the more easily you're able to see things. They talk about 10,000 hours to become a proficient in something. And so, time with patience helps a lot. The more people you're seeing, the more experience you get, and that goes a long way towards helping develop those skills.
Would you say you're still a student of the game?
Oh yeah, I will be forever. I mean, there's so much to learn about the body, and we're still discovering things about the body, and so that's to say that I think that's how you stay good. If you're looking for a doctor, if you're looking for a chiropractor, if you're looking for an acupuncturist, find yourself somebody who's still hungry for the information and wants to learn more.
Leo, how are you with needles?
Honestly, I'm afraid of going somewhere where I'm gonna get poked. Like just the drive there. Okay. The anticipation of it is very, very scary for me. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I'm a daring person, and once I'm in the spot, adrenaline takes over, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. Like let's take this on. But driving there, going there, I'm after this episode, I've learned so much about acupuncture already. Like just in this episode, from you, the fact that there's an education involved, the fact that there's actual science to this needle going in there, and there's specific points, and there's chemicals that are being released. Like, all this is new information, and it didn't take long. It took less than 30 minutes for you to reveal that, but it's just you don't know what you don't know, right?
Of course.
So learning about this, I do want to eventually, go to Will and get a session done. I know that driving there is going to be like a good 20-minute period of like, all right, so what's this going to feel like? When he said no pain, you think he meant it, or is he
I
exaggerating?
had a feeling you would be a little bit intimidated. So I asked Will to bring some of his needles.
So guys, to be honest with you,
you don't have to drive anywhere. You're here already. Will is here already.
So
right?
I actually have an appointment with another acupuncture, and I don't like to cheat.
I'm just kidding. That would have been great.
That'd be hilarious. We can practice on this thing right here. Just poke into the mic.
Poke right into it. No, I highly recommend that. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of needles either. Like when I go to get my blood drawn, I'm good at it. I just don't like looking at it. That's the thing. It's so funny. Some lady, she was doing that one. I'm like, I just don't like looking at it. She goes, well, then don't look. I'm like, great. So yeah. But when I go to Will all the time, like he said, like they're in there and you didn't even feel it. And then at some point you're just like almost falling asleep, or at least I'm a bad sleeper, but people just fall asleep and with needles on their body. It's just crazy. But the experience is, and this is going to be like me giving you the 5-star review right now. The experience is just amazing, Leo. Like you go in there and it's just calming music. He has, I don't know if you still do now, but he has like a little, stream of water running and everything. And you walk in there and then Will just turns on his soft voice and he's just like a therapist while he's laying you down. He's educating you, telling you where he's going to put these needles and why. And then once you're there, he gives you the remote just in case you do have a little bit of a panic, which I did push once during my whole thing. And next thing you know, man, you're just like he said, like it just feels so good. And the best part, which is, and I'm not sure if you ever heard of this, the best part is when you're done, he comes in, he removes those needles so fast. He's good, like just.
Wow.
Because you would think like, you're like, all right, cool, I'm done. I don't have to be poked anymore. How long is it going to take? And by the time you're thinking that, you're like, all right, you get up. I'm like, what? He just took them out that quick. And it's a skill that I feel like you just like naturally just learn to do just to make sure to feel, I don't know. But for me, it made a difference. Seeing him just putting them that fast. And next thing you know, you're just done and you're up and you're feeling amazing. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We've been using the word poke and you haven't used the word poke once. You don't like that word?
Needle insertion. Poked has the connotation of like, somebody's been poking me. It's like a little negative.
It is negative. Yeah.
yeah. My wife doesn't like it either, but I keep saying the poke. I poke her too.
Yeah. So what's the alternative to poke? You said needle insertion.
Needle insertions.
Okay, so like needle insertions.
Yeah.
You mean poke? No.
It's less syllables than words.
Before we finish, Western, the thing with like Western medicine and people that live here is quick healing. That's what they want. Everybody that's going through something, they just want to get better, like literally within the hour. Give me this pill, whatever, and magic pill, and it's going to happen. I assume acupuncture doesn't work that way, right? Like I can't necessarily walk around and say, you're going to feel good after like this one session. All your problems are going to go away. So what do you, or how would you describe acupuncture as far as like the healing process using acupuncture?
It's a great question. There are those classic patients in acupuncture, and you hear about these people all the time. I went once, it removed my pain, and I never had to go back. It was great.
Awesome.
How many times have you done it? One time. And so that there are those patients. It really depends on what we're treating. So everybody's healing journey looks different depending on what we're treating. So if you have somebody who's going through a knee replacement, doing care after their surgery for a month to 2 months, expedites that healing process, brings nerve function back, decreases pain. If you're talking about, a minor shoulder sprain, yeah, it is possible we'll do one treatment and you'll feel better. And so it really comes down to what we're treating. But the beauty of this medicine is we really are looking at the whole patient and trying to get to the root of the issue, less just masking it, less just a Band-Aid, more let's get to the root of why this is going on. And so it tends to be a deeper approach.
Yeah, I always think about it as like, what would my future self appreciate more? A quick fix, a Band-Aid, like you said, just to feel better now, and then later on all these problems are going to come back again, and even worse because now I'm older, the body's a little bit, more fragile. Or as a young person now, get rid of it like a marathon. I would much rather do that route and take care of my body, not only for right now, but for the future. Whereas like when I'm older, I'm going to thank the younger me, like, thank God you went that route, because it's no longer a Band-Aid. It's actually healing, and we fixed whatever that was wrong with it. So would you say that that's the best route, or like that's the route that you would say, like going through, like you yourself and some other?
You're on the money. I mean, and it makes sense. The more sincerely we take our health, the longer we'll live, the better results we'll get with it. We talk about food as medicine in the practice a lot, because you might be seeing me once or twice a week or once or twice a month, but you're eating 3 meals a day, and so those numbers add up, and so what you're putting in makes a difference. But yeah, it's a process, and it, like I said before, it takes a team sometimes, but just making sure that it's the effort that you want to put into the process. That's what you get out of it. And I tell my patients that all the time. How seriously do you want to take this? And for little things like a shoulder sprain, it doesn't take a whole life reorganization. But for some of the deeper stuff, for some of the more systemic stuff, it does. And so, it depends on how hard the patient wants to work. And the harder they work, the more they get out of it, like anything in life, I think.
And you say you're still a student of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Is there something that you've continued to learn that's not maybe in the acupuncture field, but it does go well together, that you're still like a student of?
So that is, another great question. I stay up on the PTSD research because it's something I was close to myself. So that goes back to the psychedelic therapies. And finding a way to integrate the acupuncture in that is something that I'm trying to figure out for the future, because I do think it'd be a beneficial tool for people going through that. Other than that, reading about the latest and greatest in terms of therapy, there's some research to show that talk therapy actually puts you back in the trauma and can prolong the process. Not to say that certain types of therapy aren't therapy can be beneficial. I want to say that. I don't want to sound negative on therapy, but that's to say new research shows new things. And so you might need to change the type of therapy you're doing for what you're treating. That makes sense. So yeah, staying up on things like that allows me to better advise people.
As someone that has been like your patient, I always appreciate my, the people that are helping me heal and stuff, to continue to learn. I feel like I do that. I try to do that as well, because a lot of my clients follow me on Instagram or whatever, and they love the fact that I am still trying to get better at my craft. So by the time I'm like shooting their wedding, they're like, "Oh my God, I've seen your journey, and you've gotten like now I have a better version of you than when I first reached out." And I love seeing and listening to in our BNI meetings when you're still going to school or you're still learning some of the new things, and I'm like, wow, he's continually like trying to build his craft and be better and better, and it makes me feel proud to be like, you need an acupuncturist? I have the right person, man. Like, it's Will. Go check him out, and so on and so forth. Before we close out, I am gonna bring the energy down just a little bit, because I had the experience of I don't know how to say it, like with being sensitive about it, but I only one time did I feel suicidal. And that one time scared me so much. Like, I jumped out of my couch, and you're the first person I called. I remember vividly, I was in my apartment. I jumped, I walked out of my patio. I called you, you answered. And I want to put it on record how grateful I am for you even answering, for you treating me as a friend, not only just a patient, but as a friend that knew what was going on, and for helping me kind of calm myself in that moment. Because even though, yes, my fiance was there, it was just a feeling of like I needed to call you. For some reason, my body just said, call Will. And you helped me out through that. And I can't thank you enough for helping me get through that specific moment, and still to this day, just welcoming me with open arms and just helping me out through this journey of healing for myself. So thank you so much, Will, for that, man.
It's my pleasure. I didn't know about that, but that's why I do what I do. I like helping. You boil it down to its simplest terms, and that's what it is. I like being there, and so that's how I run my practice. That's how I work with my patients, and glad you're doing better.
Thank you, man. Yeah. And I never told you because I wanted to put it somewhere in a platform. And I say this every single time. God brought me Leo. Leo did this podcast. And I said, you know what? Now I'm putting the people that help me on the cameras, and hopefully somebody can watch this and you know, cut through all the BS that it takes to get to healing and just go straight to the source. So thank you for being here. Well, appreciate you, man.
Thank you from both of us, bro, because this guy is an asset in my life, and I can't imagine my life without him. So huge, very deep. Thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah, of course, man.
I appreciate you.
So, do you have anything else?
No, I mean, I want to go through his socials.
Yeah,
so
that's
people,
what I was going to get to.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, Will, how can people find you? How can they reach out to you, your practice, website, anything you want to say to the camera so that people can find you?
All right. So my socials are at William at PSAACU on Insta. You can reach out. Feel free to call anytime. Our office number is 714-913-3310 for booking. I'm happy to answer any questions. We do consultations at no charge. So, you know, any questions you have, please reach out. And then, yeah, I think that's it.
Just want to ask about your Instagram. So there's an @ in the middle of the Instagram handle. So William @
I should check that.
Can we do it right now?
Oh, I'd love to. Give me just a second.
Yeah, take your sweet time. Because I feel like just sometimes a little slip in where the @ is or it's like you can't find the Instagram.
Yeah.
Or if there's a dot or an underscore somewhere and people don't mention it, it's like, where'd the Instagram go? We can't find that person. So yeah, just
forgive me. It's PSA_acupuncture. PSA_acupuncture.
Love that.
And the name of the business is Pain, Stress, Anxiety Acupuncture. You can find me online by searching Pain, Stress, Anxiety Acupuncture. Like I said, if you have any questions, please reach out. I'm here to help.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much for being here, Will. This was a very informational episode.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure.
We'll catch you guys on the next episode.